Stand by to fall in, Polk County. This is today's veteran. Hello and welcome, and on behalf of everyone at the Polk County Office of Veteran Services, I want to thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Brian Lacey, sitting in for Tim Kirkhart, and on this installment of today's Veteran, we talk with the Bridges for Heroes organization. Their mission is to lessen the financial burden of healthcare costs on veterans and their families by providing reimbursement for out-of-pocket medical expenses. But we start off the show with the Sun and Fun Fly-In. Their mission statement is to preserve and enhance the future of flight through world-class events, inspiring and educating people of all ages. Joining us in studio is Greg Gibson. He's the Chief Marketing Officer and Director of Air Operations and the Air Show Director. That's quite a title.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah, so according to urban legend, you're originally a Florida boy, but you left and came back. And tell me a little bit how you hooked up with Sun and Fun.
Well, I'd wanted to be a pilot. I actually had an Air Force ROTC scholarship in college, but at the time, Mr. Reagan was making friends with the Russians, and there was a medical thing, and they decided that wasn't really the time for me to be in the Air Force. So I had to shelf my pilot dreams for a while. But then about 2003, after a tour through the automotive aftermarket industry, I got a invitation to a job that introduced me to flying again, and one of the destinations was Sun and Fun here in Lakeland. So I came out and I'm talking to some people. I learned a lot about general aviation flying, which hadn't been really part of my lineup at that time, and come to find out, then I actually could be a pilot. About 6 months later, I was. And then that launched a whole career in the aviation industry that took me through air shows mostly, but then I've done a lot of support work and worked at FBOs and managed a couple of different airport operations locations, and finally ended up back at the place that started it all with Sun and Fun here in about 2013. So it's been a good journey.
For those that have never been there, talk a little bit about the campus itself on the backside of Lakeland Regional Airport. But for those that have never been there, talk a little bit about the museum and the facilities that you have available.
Sure. Sun and Fun located on the southwest corner of Lakeland International Airport. There are about 22 acres of an education campus, all centered in almost 200 acres of a total campus that includes, as you said, the Florida Air Museum, which is now Aerospace Discovery at Florida Air Museum, which hints a little bit at our new mission. There's also a campground and any number of over 90 events that we book there year round, including, of course, our signature event, the Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo. So if you hadn't been, there's a lot to do. The Aerospace Discovery at Florida Air Museum is Florida's official air museum, and you can come in and see a lot of history there, as well as get your hands on a lot of the things that are part of the STEM, or now STEAM, mission that Sun and Fun has to inspire and then move people of all ages through to potentially an aerospace career, at least an interest in the aerospace industry.
I want to talk a little bit more about the school that you have going on there. You think back to when we were kids and somebody said, hey, listen, if you had the opportunity to go to school to learn this, I would jump at it. And to have this a gem here in Polk County, talk about what they are teaching within the curriculum and what they're developing for the aviation industry.
Oh, you bet. That school is amazing. To be part of it, like we mentioned, a 22-acre campus there anchored by the Central Florida Aerospace Academy, which is the school you mentioned. It's a Polk County public high school. It's a career academy, a campus extension, if you will, of Kathleen High School. So it is a public high school, free. And basically, if you can get there at this point, students are eligible to go. And it has one of the most impressive career tracks or options for career tracks in aerospace for kids that are interested in moving into those disciplines. So there's airframe and power plant career track. There is professional pilot. There's avionics. Coming soon, we'll have the UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle and unmanned aerial systems track, as well as aerospace engineering. So 5 complete tracks there that are really specialized for kids that want to move into that area of expertise once they graduate. Now, the cool thing is you don't have to be a pilot. You don't have to come out of there and be someone that's actually in an airplane in order to make use of these fantastic degrees that can be had that Central Florida Aerospace Academy jumpstarts students into. So it's a very dynamic environment, and just one small example of the airframe and power plant certification. Once a student has that certification, they can even work on roller coasters at Disney World. You actually have to have that in order to do that job. So there's a lot of things in those disciplines. You hear aerospace, but then at the same time, there's a lot that goes into aerospace that people don't really recognize as being part of it. They're thinking, well, I'm just going to work, or be in an airplane. That's not even necessarily the case, although that's one of our major career tracks as well.
One thing I want to talk to you about is within the campus itself. Not only does it host Sun and Fun, but it doesn't lay dormant during the rest of the year. Over the last few years, been privileged enough to cover a Harley owner group rally out there. Always some sort of barbecue competition. Was part of Mr. Central Florida. Talk about how diverse and what a backdrop for those that want to, say, put on an event and what you guys can provide to them.
That probably is one of the coolest event facilities that you can have. We do rent the space out, and you want an outdoor festival, you want bounce houses, you want to have, like you mentioned, Lakeland Pig Fest has relocated there here recently. Jeeps and Harleys is another one you mentioned. Carlisle Winterfest is another place. It's a huge auto auction. You have a number of different things that have made their home there as an event throughout the year, but it's also available to the general public. We host weddings. We have all types of corporate activities, company picnics. Our Boeing 727 classroom is one of the coolest venues. It's a functioning 727 jet, but inside it's got this cool classroom and conference room. Kids use it during the week as part of their classwork, but it's also available for board meetings and corporate gatherings, team building, things like that. So we have 5Ks, fun runs, any kind of way that you can activate a 5K. We've had it: bubble runs, color runs, mud runs, black light runs. I mean, you think about all the different ways you can manifest a 5K. I think we've done them all. So any way that you want to spend your time, be outdoors, have a great venue with power, lots of room to roam and spread out. Of course, we are able to convert, the south side of the airport into a great big event, once a year with Sun and Fun. Yeah. But that space is available to Polk County and those in the surrounding area for use for their events as well.
As you mentioned, we finished up with Sun and Fun this year, and incredible, as Mark Jackson likes to say, Chamber of Commerce weather. It was the perfect lack of storm, or that thereof, that made this really a huge success this year. Talk about this year's event.
2019 was definitely a record year for us, and we certainly thank Mark and his team, Polk County Tourism, Sports Marketing, Visit Central Florida. Those folks are just always fantastic to us. We had a really interesting marketing plan this year that we went out and focused on the early part of the week to attract pilots and people to come in and enjoy the trade show aspect of what Sun and Fun is. A lot of people show up, the air show is certainly very popular and we have it every day, but the trade show aspect, it's Florida's largest annual convention. And so to try to attract people from the Southeast is one of our goals, and it worked. We had a major digital plan that reached out into 11 southern states, about 26 markets, and even partnering, of course, with Visit Central Florida and some of their marketing programs, Visit Florida, Florida Restaurant and Lodging, and we're able to draw in quite a number of exterior, people to come into our county and enjoy everything that Polk County has to offer, obviously anchored with Sun and Fun. So we saw about a 15% increase over our best year, which had been in 2017, so pretty recent. And with that type of growth and that type of model in mind, we're able to look ahead now and see that we're going to be able to hopefully add to that $249 million economic impact that you might have read about in the paper here recently. That's what the Sun and Fun Expo campus generates for Polk County and the I-4 corridor, along with about 2,400 jobs. So all that rolls together to be a pretty substantial economic engine for the region.
You know, after spending 7 years and some change with the company, that's what I like to call the military, with the company, I feel the closest that I was when I visit Sun and Fun, the flight line between the warbirds, the current things that are out there. Talk about what the military aspect means to the show itself. Between, you know, you had the SOCOM jumpers one day, then you had a unit from up north doing the jumping, and then, I mean, the military lens to this, and talk about what they mean to it.
Well, it's even a real personal stake for me, Brian, because I wasn't able to serve when I applied, but then to be able to come back and serve those who do is a really personal mission for me, and then also to be able to take that into Sun and Fun and see the support that our military gives us in order to, obviously they're a huge attraction for the crowds, but to be able to use that attraction to help further their mission as well is one of Sun and Fun's major goals. Having the F-35 Lightning II there on hand and actually having 60 employees from Pratt & Whitney, you know, obviously build the engines, came up from Jupiter to visit the aircraft while they were here. And to have KC-135 tankers and, you know, a couple of F-18 Super Hornets that are out there on the ramp, C-17, C-130s, Chinooks, Black Hawk helicopters, you know, all manner of history there from, you know, from modern and past. We had the world's only flying, you know, XP-82 twin Mustang.
Yeah, that was the coolest. You looked at it and you go,
what the heck? The two must be better than one. That's why they built it. So a huge step forward in technology around 1945, and you know, it really was, you know, trying to figure out how to make use of that iconic fighter, the P-51 Mustang, and turn it into something that could be more of a you know, a more effective tool based on that technology with the laminar flow wing and the Rolls-Royce Merlin engines and all the things that came together to make that fighter so successful. They figured, well, again, two's better than one. What it ended up doing is leading into the jet age, which of course we had excellent representation there as well. So out on our flight lines, our Thunder Alley with, you know, MiGs and Cold War era jets, F-86 Sabre jets and T-33 Shooting Star trainers, and you know, any number of things you could see, and of course all of our warbird friends that are there from all over the country that flew those aircraft in. Again, the Mustangs, we had several P-40 Warhawks there. We had any number of trainers, you know, T-6 Texans. We have a great group of our T-6 guys that come in. Our Red Star Association brings in some of the foreign trainers, and I don't know, you just go on and on and on. It's just fantastic. And one of our highlights is serving the military when they come in. Our active duty folks, we have our military hospitality area. We're always looking for more support for that. So anybody watching, listening, you'd like to contribute and support our military, there's a place for them. We served over 1,000 meals to those folks on active duty, came in. They have kind of their own place, their own little enclave to where they bring in, they're maintaining all those aircraft. We had over $1.5 billion worth of U.S. government property there on our ramp that they entrusted with us for the week, and those people that were supporting it, we wanted to make sure they got good support as well. So yeah, military is massive for us, and we really appreciate all the support that they give us.
Well, Greg, we're about out of time. I want to thank you for everything that you and the Sun and Fun crew does, and all the work that John and the rest of the crew puts behind the scenes. Thanks for coming on the show, and look forward to seeing you in the future.
I'll be here. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks a lot, Brian.
For more information on the Sun and Fun Fly-In Incorporated, look them up on the web at www.flysnf.org. In 1974, Sun and Fun was created by a small group of dedicated aviation enthusiasts. The annual event, held in April, has grown into the second largest event of its kind in the world and is Florida's largest annual convention. I want you to take a look at some of the sights and sounds from this year's event. Welcome back to today's Veteran. I'm your host, Brian Lacey, sitting in for Tim Kirkhart. All great causes have real-life drivers behind their formation, and Bridges for Heroes is no exception. The real-life drivers that propelled the formation of Bridges for Heroes and the cornerstone that the foundation are experience, commitment, and understanding. Joining us in studio is Jean Ryan. She's the executive director for Bridges for Heroes Incorporated. Jean, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your service.
And thank you, ma'am. Got a chance to meet you out at Sun and Fun. Wow, that was quite the shindig, wasn't it?
That was amazing. Yeah. What a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and that was your first time as a vendor out there. How well received?
It was great. We talked to a lot of people. We saw veterans who actually could use our assistance, and we got to network with other veterans in the area. So it was a wonderful time for us.
And of course, you got to hang out with our Polk County Veterans Services.
Yes.
Those guys do great work
yes.
for the members of the community.
It was great meeting them.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Bridges for Heroes. What exactly is it, Jean?
Bridges for Heroes is a newer nonprofit. And what we do is we are trying to lessen the burden of healthcare costs on veterans and their families. So we were shocked to find out that almost 2.8 million veterans live right around the poverty line. That's unconscionable that many veterans are struggling. We thought, my husband and I, Kirby, started this, and we are not veterans, but we always thought that veterans received free health care coverage for the rest of their lives. And we were shocked and disheartened to find out that that is not true. That coupled with the fact that we had the occasion to be in buying insurance, I should say, through the Affordable Care Act. And we found it to be very unaffordable. So for us, it was going to be $600 a month each for premiums, so $1,200 a month, $14,400 a year just for premiums, whether or not you used it. But we each had a $6,000 deductible. And I remember sitting there thinking, how is this affordable for anyone? We found out that if the government subsidizes your premium, you know, a lot of the talk is that so many people are covered, they pay less, their premiums are subsidized. We found out they still have a $6,000 deductible. So that was head scratching to us, because if you can't pay your premium, how are you going to pay a $6,000 deductible? And Kirby and I have such a heart for veterans. We have such an appreciation for their sacrifice and what they have done and what they have given our country, that we wanted to take some of the pain and some of the sting out of paying your monthly bills, if that's a situation that you find yourself in after everything you've given and everything you've done for our country.
So what are you finding so far in your endeavor with this nonprofit?
We are in the stage where we're getting the word out. So we very much appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. As I said, we're newer, and a lot of we call it veterans who qualify for our grant, and that's to answer your question. We give a grant, a $600 grant this year, and it's free money. It's not a loan. It's just to reimburse out-of-pocket medical expenses. And what we do is we have you apply online, and then you're going to answer 4 questions and upload 3 documents, and we're going to get a check in the mail to you within 3 days. That's our commitment.
As with many nonprofits, relying on the public, and whether it be individuals or businesses, for funding and or grants, is a source of revenue. Let's talk about how you guys are funded, and of course, if anybody's interested in helping you out, how they can do as such.
That's such a great question for us. When we started doing this, we researched, and we didn't find anyone in the country. We didn't find anyone who's doing what we're doing. And I think we're kind of unique because we have both sides of the equation. We need to take money in, and then we just give the money away. We don't have a service. We're not providing meals or homes or any of those amazing other services that are out there. So we need both sides. We were designed to be very streamlined, very low cost, and we just want our overhead to be super low so that the majority of the money can go right to the veterans. And so we rely on the general generosity of the community right now. We're looking into grants, but of course there's that catch-22. We're very new, so we don't have the history that a lot of times is needed to apply for a grant. They want to see what you've done for the past 3 years and all this sort of thing. We don't have that because we're so new. So right now it truly is the generosity of the community.
And of course, we've got to mention that your husband couldn't be here due to a prior commitment. But talk about the passion that you put, both of you put behind this. And honestly, I liken the first few years of a nonprofit as to pushing a boulder up the hill.
Yes.
It's tough work, but when the love and the passion and the desires there, it doesn't matter what you face, right?
Right, and you're right. We really do have a passion for this. We know what it's like to sit there and scratch your head during the month and say, how am I going to pay this bill, and how am I going to buy my drugs and my medicines, I should say, and how are we going to do this? And for our veterans to be in that situation, we just hate that. So I've actually left my full-time employment to do this. We have self-funded as of right now. So currently all the expenses, and as you mentioned, it's a big boulder, and there are some costs, and so we have self-funded that. So anything that is donated to us right now goes 100% to the veterans.
Now, you're located up around the Champions Gate area. Talk to me a little bit about the work that you're doing, where you would like to focus. Is it Polk County? Is it Central Florida? Is it, talk to me a little bit about that.
It's definitely Central Florida for sure, because we're here and there's so many. As we've gone to events like the Sun and Fun, we've met with other groups, like you said, the VSOs and all that. So we are just really concentrating on getting the word out in the Central Florida area because we're here and we can do that in person. That being said, our board of directors is representative of all the armed forces, and they're located all over the country. So they are also out in their pockets of the world, in their pockets of the country, doing that as well. And because we have a website, we are really, could be national, anyone could apply and anyone can donate.
One thing that you mentioned was the website, but I got a chance while doing some research and writing the intros and everything, went to the website and went to Facebook. Talk to me a little bit about how social media and technology today allows you not only to reach out to people, but also reach out to those potential donors.
Right. Social media is an amazing tool right now. It's really gone, it's such a focus and such an important part. And I think the amazing thing about Facebook is, especially for us, we have an honor roll. So if you wanted to make a donation in honor of someone who's still living or in memory of someone who has passed, we have an honor roll, and we actually create a digital plaque and we post that on Facebook, and it's a beautiful thing. And so people are able to then share that around, which also helps us get the word out about what we do and how to reach us, how to donate, how to apply for help. So social media, Facebook is where our primary presence is. But of course, to your point, people consume social media. Different generations consume it in different ways. So we're definitely there on Facebook, but we are definitely here in person as well.
Yeah. What are you hoping? What is the long-term goal for you guys?
Our vision is that no veteran or veteran family struggles to afford the health care that they need. That's our vision. That's the great overreaching thing that we think would make everything wonderful. So our mission is to really lessen that burden by giving grants to help you pay your out-of-pocket. So it's basically a reimbursement situation. And what we've done is, if you have health insurance already, and 10.4 million veterans do not have government-sponsored health insurance. So if you are paying for your own health insurance, you just need to send us a copy of this year and the period of time and how much you pay per month or per year. We're just going to reimburse you the $600 right then and there, because we know you're going to keep paying your insurance. For those that don't have insurance, we just ask to upload, if they would upload copies of their out-of-pocket expenses that they've already paid, and then we'll just reimburse it.
And we have just a few moments left, and what I'd like you to do is, we know the incredible work that you're doing for the veterans and helping them, but for those to get behind you and give of their time and of their resources, whether it be individuals or especially corporations. I'd like you to inspire them to get behind what you are doing.
Yes, we would very much welcome partners to come along with us and help reach out and touch these veterans. We kind of feel like they're the veterans that have fallen between the cracks. Only certain veterans get health insurance. So if you were in a Ford area, if you were wounded, if you have retired, there's about 8 categories, 8 classifications who receive health insurance. But all these other veterans might come out and might struggle to get a job, or might be retired and struggling to pay their bills. And so to have corporations especially partner along with us to help these veterans live a quality of life that's above the poverty level, it would just be amazing. And I think it would be so impactful to these veterans. I can't imagine getting to that stage of life, either coming out of the service and not having a job and struggling, or getting to that other stage of life and then still struggling. It's just so wrong that our veterans are going through that.
Well, Gene, from one veteran to you guys who are giving back to veterans, both you and your husband Kirby, we thank you for supporting us and helping us in our time of need. And anytime you'd like to come on and talk about what you're doing, come back and see us, would you please?
Thank you. I'd love to. I'd love to give you an update. Thank you.
For more information on Bridges for Heroes, you can look them up on the web at www.bridgesforheroes.org. That's going to do it for this edition of Today's Veteran. I want to thank our guests today, Greg Gibson and Gene Ryan, but most of all, I want to thank you for joining us. Remember, for help and information regarding claims, benefits, and services available to veterans and their families, you can call the Polk County Veterans Office at 863-534-5220 or log on to the Polk County website at www.polk-county.net. I'm your host, Brian Lacey, sitting in for Tim Kirkhart, and we'll see you next month.